Hi, I'm Fred Azeredo, the Trellis Microgrants Coordinator at the English Language Arts Network and also Outreach Coordinator.
I'm Jean-Paul Osta. I'm the Capacity Development Manager at ELAN. I work on two projects, Quebec Relations and Artists Inspire Grants. And we will be talking today about investment in self, stability in the arts sector.
All right. So to start off, we'll be talking about reality of the arts sector in Quebec, reframing stability, and the in-between space.
And then we'll go over the systems and structure, cumulative growth, and personal experiences. So the arts in Quebec, basically, the stability in the arts sector is currently marked by crisis in funding. And while the government supports professional development and organizations, many artists experience high instability, prompting calls to strengthen the social safety net to ensure long-term career viability.
Yeah, no, for sure. There is that crisis in funding, right, that exists. And I've seen that through my work at ELAN, running the grants program, right? Like we've had so many applications that we've received, like double what we expected this year. And that really shows, I think, how much people need funding at the moment, and they're not getting it from traditional channels. So
Yeah, I've heard for many artists when I meet artists in the community and I talk about Artists Inspire, they want to join the directory and they want to take part of the grants that we offer at ELAN. And I feel like artists need more opportunities of.
well, there's that need, right?
Yeah.
Because every time, we're going to talk about this later, right? But like every time you finish a job, you're out of work again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's that need for survival, and a lot of people just aren't meeting it, and either they leave the arts or they leave Quebec entirely. So it's a tough tightrope to balance on, I
Yeah.
guess.
Maybe let's move then to reframing stability. That stability is not a single opportunity. I want to invite participants who are watching to reflect on how you position yourself across time. How do you follow up? How do you stay visible? How do you build relationships beyond the project? And how do you make yourself legible inside systems, community events, funding bodies, organizations? How can you build a continuity of presence?
I guess it really comes down to like being persistent, right? In my experience, like, being there, being at events, for theater, for instance, opening nights, where there's industry people there, getting to know people, making it clear what you do, right? We're going to talk about this later as well, your
Yeah.
niche. Like just being there, like, hey, here's who I am, here's what I do. And then it's like faking it till you make it, right? Like you may not be in a stable situation, but you project that idea that you are, and that hopefully, gets you there, like gets you that perception, gets you opportunities, gets you seen by people.
And finding the language to, how do you market yourself in those settings and developing, a pitch. Like people are just on the go all the time. And how can I communicate what I do very clearly so someone would link the person to what they do, right? And I think moving on the in-between space between projects, I want to talk about once you have an opportunity and you're just thriving and doing your work. And after that, I feel like just reflecting on what worked and just building on that. So thinking about if I'm doing something now, how am I building my presence after? It's not that this opportunity has ended and then I'm just in this in-between space. There's this gap. So how can I invest in this gap to work on my stuff, to still be present in those events, on my CV, and how can I use the resources that the community is offering and build on it?
Absolutely. I mean, people are scared of that in-between space, right? They're scared of not having something that they're doing right now. I know people who block book themselves, always like do one thing, 1 week later you're on to the next thing. but that can be dangerous, you know, like you can get to burnout, and then like once you're there, it's going to take a long time to get out of that, right? And you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So yeah, it's really tough. Like, but you know, you shouldn't be afraid of that. Like, that's when you train, that's when you build your next opportunities, when you work on connections that you have. That's when you work on something, passion projects that you wanted to work on and you just didn't have the time because you're doing gig-based work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's the next point that I'll be talking about is the how do you reposition yourself, everything that you're building on, what you're saying, you know, how do I articulate my CV, my pitch, what is the narrative that I'm building for myself, for my artwork, and then the next step would be the visibility. Am I sharing my work? Am I staying present? And this engagement and being out there, and then in relationship maintenance, everyone that I met, how am I doing the maintenance of those professional relationships that I created, the network?
Yeah. No, they don't just stay, you know, like relationships don't just keep, right? You have to maintain those. That's
Yeah.
very right. Like, you know, I guess a gardening metaphor is useful here. You know, you have to like grow your garden. You have to keep and tend to it, right? You can't just let it grow wild. And, you know, all those connections, they can prove useful. You know, you never know when they're going to prove useful. Like someone will have an opportunity that you're right for. Someone will be like, oh, my funding finally came through. Would you like to do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Like,
What
it's
worked with in your case? Like, do you have an example that worked
oh
for you?
yeah, yeah. Like so many. Honestly, like making connections is the best thing you can do. Like when I did my play at the Fringe 2 years ago, Pindorama, which was a Brazilian play, I worked. I just happened to meet Riley, who's also a fellow playwright, and they really enjoyed my show. And then we chatted for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, they reached out to me and were like, I'm doing a show with a Brazilian theme as well. And they wanted me to be a cultural consultant on that. And it ended up that not only did I become a cultural consultant, I did dramaturgy on that show. And I also ended up, when there was a stage reading, I read the narration for it. So one of my few acting gigs for sure. And that was, you know, that was lovely. That came out of a conversation, and that came out of that show. That how could I have imagined, right? That just by doing a Brazilian play, I could, you know, be able to connect with my cultural heritage and help others to consult on that. You
Yeah.
know? So
I feel it's very important as well. Like, part of who you are is part of your art, and finding that and building on that, and expressing yourself through your art.
yeah, not trying to put yourself in a box that you're
Yeah.
not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's something a lot of people try to do, like, oh, it's trendy right now to do this kind of thing, so I
Yeah.
should try it. But, like, you know, if it's not in your heart, you're not going to do it, right?
Exactly. I've been working at Santor, and then my work at Santor, I got to meet the, you know, theater people who were there, and this is as well how I created my partnership with them on a couple of French projects. I assisted a theater workshop at a school, just because I met the people who were at the theater, and I was able to make connections with them and tell them my story. And this is as well like how I created how we started the relationship, and then we created the partnership after.
Yeah, the important thing is just that they know who you are from the crowd, you know? Like, from all the people who want to, I mean, there's so many people who want to work in arts, right? And it's such a crowded sector. And there's, as we talked about already, there's so
Yeah.
little funding available. So when someone has an opportunity, when someone like finds themselves with a little bit of money, with a little bit of opportunity, and they want to find somebody, they're going to turn someone they know, right? Like a familiar face, someone they know, not only that they know personally, but that they know is consistent, that they can do
Yeah.
that work. So experience builds on experience.
Yeah, and it's that, you know, continuity of presence that we talked about. Moving into the other side, on the in-between space, that's strategic action. Like, everything, like, it's the alignment of, yes, I am doing this. I'm doing the reflection. I am doing the repositioning. I am doing the visibility work. I'm doing the relationship maintenance. And then how am I, you know, strategically being in action to create then the new opportunity
Yeah.
for myself?
Yeah, I went just between Like I just had my Boal in Montreal workshop that
Yeah.
just wrapped up. You know a little bit about
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And when that wrapped up, I had a few weeks in between that and my next show rehearsal starting, and I took a workshop at
Yeah.
Playwrights Workshop Montreal, and through that, you know, I just thought it was a fun thing to do. I just had an idea and went for it, and but then I met so many lovely people through that that I'm still talking to now. You know, people that like want to help each other out and have play reading circles and offer dramaturgy to each other. Like, and that's such a lovely, unexpected experience.
Yeah.
So you have to be open to these things. You have to put yourself out there and do these things.
And how was the workshop? Like, and what was the outcome of the workshop?
It was a workshop on adaptation with Nick Carpenter, who's a great dramaturg. He teaches at National Theatre School as well. And it was taking like a text that's not yours, or for some people it was theirs actually, but from a different medium and bringing it into theater, turning it into a play. So I was cheating a little bit because I was doing importance of being earnest, but I was putting it in a Latino context, which is very fun. So I'm working on
Which
that
brought
still.
maybe a unique as well, like
Yeah.
perspective. It's like finding as well, like what am I bringing that is different today, and how am I, you know, like you're doing that through your actions, through how you're showing up as an artist.
Yeah, and like I just literally had this thought, right? I was watching Ernest last year actually at Repercussion Theater. They did it, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny, you know, to do this? The title of the play is Importance of Being Ernesto, so the Latino version sort of. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny? There's a guy who pretended to be Latino. You know, to get chicks, kind of. The same way Ernest pretends to be, the same way Jack pretends to be Ernest in the Wild play, also get chicks. So, you know, kind of an update of that and a recontextualization. But yeah, like, you know, that was just an idea, a crazy little idea of my own that I don't think other people could have come up with, you know? So very much well, they could have, but like, very much my sense of humor and
Yeah.
my background, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And then I think, it's how you show up, and at the same time you're just bringing something new to the table. And then you're creating those opportunities for yourself in your self exploration as an artist. And then it's that might, the stability that we're talking about is that stability in how you're showing up for yourself, and understanding yourself, and diving deeper to know what's your artistic identity, and then how then you're showing up and articulating that, you'll be able to attract the opportunities that are the right fit for you.
yeah, because you might not even know, right, starting out,
Yeah.
what your niche is, what you want to do, right?
And this, maybe we move to the systems and structure. Like I think newcomers, and I was a newcomer 2 years back, and you know, understanding that this is a system here, and most systems run on seasons and relationships and reputation, and that opportunities are not random; they are cyclical and relational. So if through my work through Artists Inspire, I noticed a pattern where schools want to work with the same artist that went and facilitated an arts and cultural experience with them the previous year. It's that familiarity that they are looking at, and they feel like they built trust in the relationship with the artist. They want to bring them back again. So an understanding, I think the structure here is just helps you with positioning yourself, and when am I doing things, when am I applying, how am I applying.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I see the same with Trellis, right? Like we've had a few repeat winners, right? And like that's not random.
Yeah.
Out of a pool of 370 applicants, that's not a random choice. It's like the jury, which is different each time, like they see these qualities that are consistent, right? And like even if it's not exactly the same thing of recognizing them because it's
Yeah.
anonymous and it's a different jury, they see that like this fits this, right? Like this is very clearly a fit for this
It's like a
particular
formula.
grant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like pattern of success.
Yeah.
That some things that are, similar are just chosen again and again.
Like in this, even in with a different pool and a different context, like the same things that have these winning qualities, like that fulfill the mandate of the grant very well, they'll get chosen, right?
Yeah.
So that's been very enlightening to see, and there's amazing projects that have come out of Trellis, right? And I think they really show their worth, you know, like standing out in such a crowded field with so many great applicants, right? So.
And what do you think about alignment? Like how did they align their work to once they were applying for Trellis?
Yeah, no, that's also very important too, because like I see so many applications in which folks, like you can tell they just have a standard template,
Yeah.
and they use that for literally every grant they
Yeah.
do, no matter
Yeah.
what it is, right? It's Cole Foundation, it's CAM, it's whatever, and like for Trellis, we're very specific, right? Because our mandate is that bridging of English and French communities, right? And now the project can have many other qualities, but like as long as it's doing that, that's the thing we care most about. And like there's many projects that were just like, they just do their spiel and they add a little paragraph like, oh, by the way, we're gonna have subtitles or we're gonna translate. But then there's the other projects that you can tell are, like their pitch is built from the ground up.
Yeah.
Like this is a project that fundamentally brings together these communities and fulfills this, and like that's shot through the whole, their whole pitch, like their whole application. And that's what a good grant application should be, right? Like it should be, like I always tell people, right? Apply for everything, but apply well, right? Because if you're applying badly, you might as well not apply at all. Or it can be almost detrimental, right? Because like somebody will, honestly, I don't think this would happen, honestly, but like, you know, if you send a bad application, people will be like, oh, you know, this guy doesn't care, you know, this person doesn't care. But like if you send quality applications, even if you don't get it, like the next year I'll be like, wow, you know, like I remember this person was really good last year. And that sticks in people's minds, you know, like at auditions too. Even the auditions you don't get help build your visibility.
Absolutely. And then you might see the same people again and again. When we were doing auditions for a Fringe theater show, I saw those people again in different, you know, like for the first show, and then I saw them in the second show, and I was working as a director, directing mentor or the assistant director, and then I could see the people, you know, like from the community, and then they know these people, and then they want to be in their projects, right? Or they graduated together, they're colleagues, and then they know about their projects, as well as being part of a community where you know what's happening. And then to be able to put yourself out there is the first step would be connecting to what's happening, and then you know, and then this is then how you position yourself. And I wanted to touch base on what are your thoughts on using AI in grants, and you know, as well, like finding your artistic identity and voice in developing, you know, like while you're writing a grant, or how important that is, while understanding that AI is a tool that is there and present.
Yeah. Well, I mean, someone who's influenced me a lot in my grant writing, and a great grant writer, one of the best to ever do it, in my opinion, Rahul Varma from Tisritunya. He's great. He's kept TISRI afloat for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
You know, many of those years without funding, right? Without
Yeah.
formal funding. But he does it really well. And he says, treat a grant, like he's a writer, right? Just like me. He says, treat a grant the same way you would treat a fiction writing project, you know? Like we tend to think of it as like a prescriptive, like kind of boring writing, but it's really, you are telling a story, right? So you need to tell that story. And to use AI, I mean, it's okay to use it for formulating your ideas, you know? Like I know a lot of people do it that way, I don't personally. But like to write the whole thing with, like, we had Trellis applications where they left a prompt in, you know, like that's not good. You know, don't do that. But regardless if you leave it in, we can tell, right? And the jury can tell. And the jury is artists. And most grants, the jury is artists. And artists are not an AI-friendly bunch.
Yeah,
you know?
and it can block your opportunity to get a grant, right?
Exactly.
So it's and then
it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You
know? Talking about as well, like relationships, and you know, like how people will remember you, and I think an important piece is once you're putting yourself out there, and the work will talk about about you as well. Like it's part of you, and then the work will be, once the work is out, it will, like, your reputation will build after that.
Yeah, you can let your work speak for itself
Yeah,
sometimes, right?
yeah.
Like there's a point when you're very early on, you have to build yourself up. You have
Yeah.
to build yourself up in a big way. But then, like, I saw some people coming to see shows of mine, and I was like, oh, no, I don't, like, oh, thanks so much for coming. Like, why did you, are you interested in this? And he's like, well, I'm not, like, specifically interested in this, but, like, I love, like, this previous show you did, like, Panorama again.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that show so much, I wanted to see future things that you did. And, like, that trust that you build there, that's immeasurable, right?
Yeah.
And it matters so much more when it's your first few things.
Yes.
Because, like, think of, like, the percentage of things that you've done that are really good. When it's your first project, that's 100%, right? And then your second project is still 50%. So you still want, like, the majority of the things you do to have that level of quality and trust building. When you're later on in your career, you know, like, you have enough stability to be able, well, obviously no one sets out to make a bad project, but, like, you have the capacity to sometimes step wrong, you know? But, like, early in your career, it's so important to have that consistency.
Yeah, the consistency, it builds the stability over time.
Yeah.
Right?
And people trust you that you can deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to mention that once you're committed to your work and you're showing up no matter what, it's like, yeah, the work will develop, your stability will come with time, with, like, working and honing your skills and I know I met my drama therapy teacher when I first came here the first time, and I knew that her work was connected to Bilal. And when I was watching the show, and then I saw her there, and I didn't know that she was coming, but once she saw Bilal in Montreal, she went there, you know, without knowing the people behind the work.
Yeah, these things just coalesce, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's always a beautiful thing, you know? Like, when you have that trust and that reputation that people, you know, will go out of their way, like, without you having to tell people. Like, you know, it's just known. I mean, artists talk a lot, right? And they say very kind things and they say very unkind things.
Yeah.
So you definitely want the kind things to be said.
This is where reputation comes from.
Yeah.
You know, we touched base on reputation loops, and, you know, then people would refer you, like, if they know that, you know, Fred will deliver, right? Like, I know his work, and then I'm able to, you know, be confident that once I refer Fred to someone, that they will be able to show up to deliver, and I know their work.
And this is why, you know, like, you really have to always put your best foot forward, especially when you're starting out. Because, like, if you make a mistake, I mean, everyone makes mistakes, right?
Absolutely,
But, like,
yeah.
you make a really big mistake early on. Like, you know, that's what people will be saying. Like, oh, you know, Fred was the guy who who, like, I don't know, who didn't fix the light properly, and then it came crashing down and burnt down the theater. You know, like, you know, like, whatever. That didn't happen in real life, by the way. But you know, if you do that, but whereas later on you build that trust, and then trust gives you, like, the space to make mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's like there is a risk there. Absolutely. And then I think this is where artists sometimes have the fear of being out there, right?
Yeah. I don't want people to, like, take that as a, like, oh my God, you know, I don't want to put myself out there. What if I make a mistake and destroy my career? You know, like, people are forgiving.
Yeah,
They've been there.
yeah.
Everyone has been where you have been now, you know?
And if you're humble about it at the same time, right? Then coming from, like, a place that, oh, you know, like, I know, or, like, this shouldn't be happening, or, like, just, I think, owning your mistakes is part of being an artist at the same time.
Absolutely. I shouldn't. Yeah, if I burned down the theater, I shouldn't be like, no, it was JP who did it. No, he didn't tie it properly.
Moving on, that the systems are not designed to discover you. They are designed to process information efficiently. They reward artists who are clear, consistent, and legible. What do you do? For whom? In what format? Can you deliver this again reliably? Can someone quickly understand and place you? So if someone has to figure you out, you might create some friction, but if they can recognize you immediately, you create access. So
This is why the niche is so important.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like this,
yeah,
like, you know, like when I established myself as doing theater of the oppressed, right, through the
yeah,
Boal
yeah.
workshops, like, you know, you said yourself, your drum therapy teacher came to see,
Mm-hmm.
right, and like other Boal people, like a French language Boal collective came to see us as well. Like you establish yourself as like, oh, this is the guy who does that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And this is something that's in demand. Like, you know, that's important because like, let's say you have great boomerang skills, right? Like, you know, maybe when a boomerang musical happens or something, they'll call you. But like, you need skills that are relevant, right? Like, say I can do cultural consultancy. Like, that's really important right now because people really want to get culture right. That's something
Yeah.
that people are like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
very much in people's minds right now. And also like, again, niche practices like that, like exactly like theater of the oppressed, or like I know some a dance artist who specializes in Buto. You know, these are very specialized disciplines that take training to develop.
And the intimacy direct,
Intimacy
yeah,
direction, that's
yeah,
something that's
direction is
huge
like
right now.
new, yeah, right.
Yeah, and very new, so they need people who can do it, right?
Yes.
And
It's
yeah,
similar in drama therapy. It's like the focus, like when going from a theater training, and then you're just focusing on how am I using theater, but as an intervention therapeutic tool. Yeah, it's just creating that laser focus on something very specific, and then people would be able to connect, two dots like very easy. Like yes, Fred Boal, right?
yes,
And I think at the same time, identity plays a huge part in cultural identity and where you're
yeah.
from, and then
It can't just be a random thing, right? Like we said before, like you can't just, oh, this is popular, I'm going to chase after it, you know? This is, what do you have that's authentically you, that you can offer and is in demand? And if you're being like, oh, no, I don't have anything that's in
yeah,
demand right now, like,
yeah.
no, yeah, you do. Everybody
Yeah,
has something, you know?
absolutely. And, like finding out what's that, and like connecting your passion. Like it should be something that you're passionate about, that
Yeah,
you like to do, that you want to do, and then I'm sure like there is a reason why you chose Boal, and
yeah.
right. And can you talk more
Oh,
about
yeah,
that? Maybe
yeah.
just as well,
Well, I
your
mean,
work connection to Boal.
I'm from Brazil. It's probably the first big one. And I was
Yeah,
like, I love bringing Brazilian theater
yeah,
here, right? Like I did that with that play I was talking about. I did that with Boal. And like I was just struck here that it doesn't get done very much. Like for those who don't know, like Theater of the Oppressed, created by Augusto Boal, was a theater artist from Rio in Brazil. And he created a style of theater that's like participative. So like the audience, they're cast in the roles of spect actors, and they can like go up on stage or alter the flow of the play, and it's a way to like get people to engage in social issues through theater and demolish like that fourth wall,
yeah.
like that divides us. And yeah, like, and I wasn't seeing that done here, but like in Brazil, we see that all the time. Like it's a way to create legislation. Like Boal, he was briefly a local politician, and he actually used that as a way to crowdsource legislation, which is
Yeah.
so cool. And like you see it about all sorts of issues and around the world too, not just Brazil. But here, like as I said, there was a French theater group that did it, but
Yeah.
in the English theater scene here, like again, very much the niche, right? Like in the English theater scene here, there was not that Boal getting
So you
done.
targeted that need at the same time.
Exactly.
So you recognized the need, and since you're from Brazil, and then you have the training for it.
Yeah.
So I feel like this makes that this is credible, right? Like the people would be able to trust the work that you're proposing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
because it makes sense, and there's.
Yeah, and I knew his work, and like I could see that like it was getting taught at John Abbott and at Concordia and stuff, but they weren't getting the chance to actually do it.
Do it,
right?
yeah.
So
yeah.
we had so many people who were students, especially Concordia students, who joined our group the first year, and they were like, "Wow, I only ever got to read about this, but like doing it is something because it's meant to be done, right? It's meant to be done in front of an audience and for people to connect with it." So yeah, that was lovely.
And it was like every year you do this as well. So there is consistency. So then people would expect. So you manage like the expectations. Like they know that, oh, the upcoming year, I want to go see Boal in Montreal again
What are they gonna
happen,
do this
right?
year? Yeah.
What are yeah, like because each year is different. It's similar as well. Like that's what we talked about in structure and systems. That each year there are grants who are and just being in the loop, right? And applying
Yeah.
and reapplying. And I think at the same time, what keeps you going as an artist is how are you developing that practice with yourself and strategies to just like keep building this relationship to your craft. And then I think passion is a huge motivation to keep going. But the other thing would be taking care of yourself. And coming from the mental health field, it's like those self-care things, and understanding more of what are the challenges, being able to reflect on your challenges, personal challenges that are creating some obstacles and they become professional challenges. And when I worked with actors, I would definitely almost every time see how a personal challenge would and can become a professional one, that might create some barriers. How implementing self-care and understanding that, and how can you, like um, work on yourself that will be able to allow you to better show up for your art.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I see so many people, and I've been guilty of this, right? Of like wanting to do everything because it never stops. Like there's always another thing you could do. Like, oh, I could train with this person. I could go see that person's show. I could do this. I could take this job. Like there's always more things. And, that motivation is good.
Yeah.
But it can lead to unhealthy places.
Yeah.
Right? You need to check yourself.
Yeah, and allowing yourself to just, we're talked about like making mistakes, and allowing yourself to just be and recognize where you are in the process is part of checking in. And once you're reflecting, like we talked about the reflection stage, okay, what did I learn here, and what are the things that I might explore differently, and daring to do and to risk take, and maybe just going out to an event that is not my art form, right? Like
Yeah.
we come from the same background, like theater background. But what if you go to a vernissage, or you just go to events that are not specifically just, for example, the theater
Absolutely.
community, and then you get exposed to different artists from different
You make those
communities,
connections,
right? And
right?
then you make those connections.
Like they could still be useful, right? Like I had a Ben, who was from a music background. He did the score for my play, and then a little later he actually reached out and asked if I wanted to write a musical together.
Yeah.
And we're actually doing that right now.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess I can reveal that.
Yeah.
But it's still in the planning
Yeah.
stages. But yeah, like we've been doing that for a year now, because he was like we worked together in that, but he's from that totally different world of like he's in a jazz band and all that. He's a McGill Schulich graduate, so normally not the same theater world at all, but there's a connection, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Like I couldn't write a musical, myself, right? So.
And then this collaboration, came to life just because you met this person, and then, you talked about your work, he talked about his work, and then,
Yeah.
and this is, I think, how opportunities, like new opportunities can come to life. Just putting yourself out there, and as well developing that language to articulate your work and what you do. And I think we live in the digital world. I want to just name that, like if you don't have a website, a reference, I feel like if you're not present on social media platforms,
Yeah.
this is part of the visibility that we talked about. It's just, yes, being out there, but, like handing out cards, or just finding ways to just for people to, yes, for example, I know Fred, but how can I, refer someone to Fred? Like, I know you, like we work together at ELAN, but then, like a reference point would be Boal in Montreal, right?
Yeah.
Like keep an eye out, Tisri Dunia's, website or
Yeah.
social media.
Or
and you
my
will be-
company's
right?
website,
Yeah,
right?
or your company's website, yeah.
Exactly. Like, yeah, like we may hate it, right? We may hate the social media of it all, the meta and all that. Like that's totally fair. But you do need it. You know, that's the
Yeah.
sad thing, that you do need to be on those. You need to be everywhere, like that. At least on the big ones, you know, like Facebook, Instagram, all that.
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn,
someone,
yeah,
yeah.
but you know, yeah,
Right.
you got to be there because people will find you, and like, yeah, people have randomly found me on LinkedIn and messaged me, you know.
Right? Yeah, I think LinkedIn is an interesting platform to be
Yeah,
on, and as an artist, right? Like it feels like corporate vibe, but how can
yeah,
you transform the corporate vibe LinkedIn to like promote your art, to just
yeah.
put it there, and you never know, like. But then if someone finds you on LinkedIn, is able to find your website, to go there and see your work.
It's honestly the number. That's actually reminded me of a crazy story that like that's the number one place people like find me on.
Yeah.
But like one time I had served as marketing coordinator at this community theater group for a few years when I left that position. But then somewhere it still had that email on it for me. And then a guy in Chile found, because he was doing a translation of a book that I had written an article about. And he loved my article so much that he wanted to use it as an introduction to his book, but in Spanish.
Wow.
But he was trying to find me, and he could only find that email. And I guess that was kind of a failure of me putting myself out there. And then he emailed that person, and then the person who was in that role then, who had that inbox, she forwarded to me. It's like, Fred, someone's trying to reach you from Chile.
Whoa.
And then it turned out that, of course, I spoke Spanish as well, so I was able to translate the piece myself into Spanish, and it did end up being published. And that was like the most random opportunity ever. But
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
that's such a clear sign, like just putting your work out there, like the craziest things will happen that you could never predict.
I think this is what creates the access that we talked about at the same time, right? Like you're out there, people can, like reach you. Yeah, I feel like if we want to move to the cumulative growth, it's like those small actions that you took with time, the consistency in showing up and doing the work, that then created the opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, I might say, even if I hadn't done some things, I wouldn't be working here at ELAN, right? Because like, I did the fireworks playwriting program with
Yeah,
Tisch Dunia
yeah.
Theater. And then that's how I got to know them. That's how I got to do Boal with them, work with them more. And then later, when I interviewed for this position, actually, Deborah, who's my boss now, she had worked with Tizri for a long
Yeah.
time. And she was so impressed that I'd done that. I don't know if that was what clinched it, you know? But like that didn't hurt, right? That she knew that I had those values of Tizri, which is such a
Yeah.
great organization. And she connected with those. And like if I hadn't done that thing in the past and then worked with them later, you know, like you never know, like
Yeah.
you know, the parallel universes,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Absolutely. I remember when I was writing my cover letter for my first position at ELAN, I started as communications assistant, and then I remember writing in the letter that this letter is not sponsored by ChatGPT. I wrote the letter by myself without any assistance, and I think this is what got me the job in the first place. It's just being authentic in how you're showing up, and then people want to connect with you, want to get to know you. At least I think this has got me to the interview part, right? So then people would just are interested in having a conversation with you. It's sending that follow-up, it's clarifying your offering, it's showing up again, it's staying in someone's awareness, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a funny story. That it reminds me of someone who now works at QDF. They're a communications manager. She's a friend of mine, and when she first applied to that job, she sent her CV in the QDF colors with the the branding and the font, and it was for communications, right? So they were like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, she knows
Whoa.
what's up," you know. So like, I don't know if that got her. She's also very talented.
It's that
But,
creative
like,
twist, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I did
That little something.
different.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm, like,
Because they
this is
read
what
50 of
yeah.
these, you know. So it's like, oh, the guy who had the color, you know.
That, as well, like, how do you stand out from the crowd, and what makes you different? So it's, I think, as well, like owning
All these things,
right?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not just one thing. It's just like those different parts that we talked about that lives together, and it's with time. So individually, these actions feel small, but collectively they compound, and those connections will create these recurring opportunities for your network to grow. It has to stay active, and then one collaboration can transform to an ongoing relationship. And then this is how you might start being recognized with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's also right. Like there's no one
Just
weird
one
trick.
formula,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's no like, like arts organizations hate it when you do this one strange thing. Like there's that doesn't exist. That's just clickbait, right? But like you gotta just put in the work and get noticed and be a presence. Be there, be at
Yeah.
those shows. Don't like go crazy. Don't like burn out. But yeah, just keep
Finding the
doing it.
balance, right,
Yeah.
between, like I'm showing up, but with intention, right? And when I'm creating those relationships and network, I'm being authentic in my relationships. You could feel someone coming into you just because you're the Trellis micro
Yeah.
brand manager,
Oh,
or someone, right, like coming with that authentic energy to just connect with you, and then be able to just have a conversation. Oh, hey, like I might need your feedback, or what do you think? What can I do to just like this? I thought about this. I want to do this, and I want to apply for Trellis, right? And then you would be able. I think I'm
Yeah.
sure you
Oh
encountered
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm always very happy to help people.
Yeah.
But sometimes I see they come up to me and like and they're like no, or like I come up to someone and they're like hi, Fred, and they're like oh okay, and then I'm the Trellis guy. They're like oh hi, because they have like
Yeah.
dollar signs in their eyes, So, but yeah, it's just like okay, sure, I get it. Everyone needs funding, but yeah, like if you engaged with me, if you talk
Yeah,
to me,
showing
like
genuine interest
I'll help. Yeah.
overall, right? Just
Yeah.
not just because someone is affiliated, right? With it's just because you can't know who you're meeting, and
Yeah.
as well, like maybe just don't do assumptions on people or just based on like I don't know anything.
Yeah. Like you there's there's the classic. It's almost like a fairy tale parable or something. You don't know who you're talking to, and then you treat them rudely, and then it turns out that was like the AD of some theater or something. But like the lesson is just you should treat everyone well, right?
Yeah, being a good human
Yeah.
overall.
That does sound like it would be like a fairy tale or something.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just now talking about like closing thoughts and in the in-between space that artists, like experience. And I feel like this is where the actions might happen. And once a project has finished, this is the opportunity for you to just use that in between space and then move to understanding more the system and structure where accumulation becomes visible, and that cumulative growth what turns action into the stability that we talked about. And this is what investment in yourself leads to, investment in your arts that leads to the stability that you create for yourself, and then to be able to have more exposure, and then from that exposure to gain more opportunities to work in the arts sector that is nowadays struggling, but at the same time there are opportunities out there.
They're there, yeah. You just have to find them, and sometimes you have to make your own work, like, and then, like, you do your own show or something, and then you invite somebody to come see it, and they're like, "Yeah, that's pretty good," like maybe I want to hire you.
Yeah.
So, or maybe they don't do that,
Yeah.
but you just keep doing it.
Absolutely. And then, like from personal experience, some basic things that we mentioned is finding your niche. What do you do well? What is no one else doing? What might pay? Chasing opportunities, being shameless and persistent, but not obnoxious.
That's very important.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
You
Fred's
don't want to
words.
be annoying. Yeah, like that's the last thing you want to be is like super in people's face or stuff, and like really chasing after people in an annoying way. But like just being always there and always like applying for stuff, but not I guess presuming a relationship where there isn't one.
Yeah.
Also, that's important. So,
And then, you know, applying to everything at the same time. There's no downside to sending applications whenever, but don't exaggerate.
yeah, and apply well, right? Don't send the ChatGPT.
Yeah. And building connections, so any contact can prove valuable, diversify who you know. And this is, you know, being in different spaces. We touch
Exactly.
space on like how can we be in different spaces, and how these spaces we create those relationships, and those relationships might create those partnerships that are unique.
Who knows? Yeah,
Right?
you never know. And yeah, it all combines together, right? And then it all comes together, and you know, helps your career long term. Like,
Yeah.
there's no, like I said, no cheat code, right? You just got to
No
do
magic
it.
formula.
Yeah, and you just get there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, we're both still on that path, you know.
Absolutely,
We
yeah.
didn't solve everything, you know.
No.
We're not on Broadway or anything. And even if I were on Broadway, I'd probably be like, oh, you know, I wish my theater was bigger, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You can always find, you know, like what's not working.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like just focusing on, okay, what's working for me right now in different time, you know,
And be
like,
so privileged to be like doing art, and like, you know, no matter how much you're struggling, and like you're following your passion and you're doing art, and that's already an amazing thing, because so many people don't have the nerve or the capacity to do that.
Absolutely.
So just doing that is already an amazing thing.
yeah, choosing to be an artist, or
Yeah.
choosing that path is not easy.
Not easy.
It's not
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. And a lot of people have like family or circumstances that
Yeah.
prevent them from doing
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's tough for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, well,
It's always finding that motivation again to just, you know, like, yeah, because I think each one of us has a strong reason why they are in the arts, and the mission behind what they're doing, right? And what's the narrative that you're telling yourself as an artist, that, you know, and then how you're showing up in the world
yeah,
through your art. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a beautiful place to end on. Yeah. So
Yeah.
well, thanks so much, JP.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you so much for the people who've, if you're still here. And then
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
I hope, yeah.
And yeah.
So yeah, this is investment in self, sustainability in the arts.